Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link Virtual Studios and brought to you by AskSSL.ai. I'm Bob Woods. Bryn Tillman is unfortunately out a little sick today, but Stan Robinson Jr. is here. Sup, Stan?
Howdy, Bob. Good to see you as always.
It's good to be here. It's good to be here. Thanks for coming along here. So, we at Social Sales Link talk a lot, and I mean a lot, about starting sales conversations without being salesy. But what about after any sales you are hopefully making? How are you continuing that conversation? That's what today's episode is all about. Using LinkedIn and social selling to drive customer loyalty and even repeat business. So, LinkedIn has a gold mine of tools for building lasting relationships. And we're going to talk about how to use some of those tools to keep them coming back to you. I think it's really important to stay in touch and continue to be of help and service because you're showing that you're present and you really should want to continue to build the relationship, right, Stan?
Exactly. And LinkedIn is probably an overlooked tool for doing that, where you can do it in a way that's kind of non-invasive. You're not picking up the phone and, calling to say, how are you doing? So that's why I look forward to jumping into how to use LinkedIn to maintain these relationships.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Love that. Love that. So we do have an ebook on this topic. You can download it at socialsaleslink.com/loyalty, socialsaleslink.com/loyalty. If you're watching us live right now, that QR code that is in the upper left-hand corner, that will take you directly to download that ebook. So with that, Stan, we've got a packed agenda as always. Let's go ahead and do you want to talk a little bit about LinkedIn polls?
Yep. So LinkedIn polls are something that we love here, and they give you a chance to do a couple of things. One is get a sense from your LinkedIn audience as to answers to questions that you may have that are relevant for them. And it's also a way to stay in touch with people, including current, past customers, and of course, prospects as well. But in this context, we're talking about your current customers and maintaining those relationships. So with polls, you go to your usual start a post at the bottom. I believe it's under more. You'll see the bar graph option for polls.
Mm-hmm.
And polls are probably underutilized, but great way to tell people that you value their opinion. So with a poll, you have an area where you put in the title of the poll. You can ask up to 4 questions, and we suggest that the last one always be other. Please
Yep.
add in comments, just in case your first 3 answers don't fit what they were thinking. And
Yep.
since the comments are open-ended, that's where you can get some of your most valuable insights. So when you create the poll, you can post the poll with a note as to why you're posting it to your audience. But when it comes to your current and past customers, go ahead and also send it to them as a LinkedIn DM, direct message. That way you can be sure to get it in front of them and just ask them for their input, since you consider them a valuable resource. Of course, the poll should be something that's relevant for them, easy for them to add their input to. Bob, any other thoughts just on polls and how we?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when polls were first announced and rolled out several years ago, everybody used them because and did just for all kinds of ridiculous reasons, just because it was the shiny new thing and everybody just wanted to start using them. And it wasn't really good. They got kind of a tarnished reputation because of that. But that was a couple of years ago. So nowadays, I mean, I don't know about you, Stan, but anymore, the only polls that I really see on my feed are like really good, really quality ones that are asking intelligent questions, have intelligent options, have intelligent comments and conversations going in the comments section. I mean, they really are back to being that gold status or gold standard or whatever you want to call it now.
Yep, yep, exactly. And you can run a poll for up to 2 weeks, which is what we suggest to get as much feedback from people as you can. But don't forget to share the poll directly with your current and past customers. Do not rely on LinkedIn's wonderful algorithm to show it to the people you want to see it.
God. And then the other thing you can do is actually get another piece of content out of it because you can discuss the results
Yep,
in
exactly.
another poll. Or I'm sorry, not in another poll, in another post that you would do reporting the results of the poll. So therefore you can get more conversations going, especially if these are conversations that you think that your clients would truly find of value.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So when you do drop a note, a DM, asking a client to participate in a poll, let them know that you'll share the results with them
Yeah,
when the poll is closed.
absolutely. Absolutely. So the second thing is asking for insights in comments. So we were just talking about comments, especially with polls. You can get some really rocking and rolling conversations going in the comments section. So there's actually two places where you can do this. One, you can invite your LinkedIn connections via messaging, just like Stan said, to share their thoughts and insights on your posts. So everything that Stan said about sharing polls, you can share just individual posts with people as well. You should, though, personalize the request so that you're deepening the relationship and showing appreciation for their perspective. Now, when you are messaging people, you can actually kind of blind copy people. I would and send out, like multiples at once. I would suggest against doing that. Individual is really best. You really want to personalize it just as much as possible. It's going to be tempting to send to a bunch of recipients at once. I definitely would not do that.
Yeah.
So the second place is going to be commenting on their posts, so your client's posts, or even where they're commenting on other people's posts. And then you can ask for their thoughts in those places, contribute to the conversation, do all the things that we always talk about when it comes to commenting, elevating the conversation. That's what you want to do here as well. But when you comment on their posts and when you comment when they are commenting on other people's posts, this really does show extra care because you found them elsewhere. Why not ask them for additional thoughts and insights? So no matter which route you take, though, you're both showing a bit of your expertise when you're commenting, which is always good, and you're giving them the opportunity to further share their insights when you ask for them. So you're kind of putting them back in the spotlight in your comments. And that's always good because, again, we're talking about deepening the relationship. What better way to do that than to say, hey, what do you think? And what do you think, Stan?
So true. I think that one of the biggest things you mentioned is keeping them in the spotlight whenever possible. So that is always a good thing. Obviously, we're talking about keeping them in the spotlight in a good way,
Hmm.
but placing the emphasis on them as opposed to you. The other thing just to keep in mind that may not be obvious is that when you're on someone's profile on LinkedIn, you can see their comments. Now, I'm
Yep.
not sure how far back they go, but you really want to engage with current comments anyway. So
Right.
don't forget that, you can just go to someone's profile and see what they've commented on where you may be able to add to the discussion.
And then if you ring their bell on their profile and choose everything, LinkedIn's algorithm, again, notwithstanding, you should be able to see when they're actually commenting on other people's posts as well. Now, obviously, that's not going to work all the time. What Stan said is the more foolproof way of doing that. Again, as long as they're timely, you don't want to comment on something that was 6 months ago because that would be creepy. But you definitely want to get the most recent stuff. And again, just keep in mind that you're putting them in the spotlight when you're doing this. So comment accordingly and appropriately. So Stan, let's talk about grabbing quotes from your customers.
Yeah. So speaking of keeping people in the spotlight,
Yeah, big time.
uh, there may be instances, whether it's in a post or whether it's in a conversation with a current or past client. Um, there are other campaigns that we suggest where you can do some interviews. But when you have a good quote from a customer, now we're not talking about a testimonial here. We're talking about normally an industry related quote
That's
where they're,
important.
yeah, where they're offering their insight on an industry issue that their peers would be interested in, or people in adjacent businesses. So it adds credibility to your own post when you add a quote from someone else who's supporting what you're saying. If you're comfortable using Canva, or if you have, say, a resource that can help you, you can actually create Canva images around a quote and then share them on social.
Yep.
Now, it goes without saying, but we'll say it anyway. Make sure you ask for permission before sharing their quotes. But most people, if you ask for permission and you show them the quote, say, "Hey, I'd love to feature you in a post with this particular quote," most folks are happy to do it. Just let them know in advance and let them say, "Yes, Bob, I'd love for you to quote me in a post."
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's also great content in general. So always be thinking about always be thinking about content. I'm trying to put an acronym to that, and it's just not coming off the top of my head right now. But with that, let's get on to the next one, which is going to take what Stan just said to the next level, especially when we're talking about putting people in the spotlight. And that's interviewing your clients on LinkedIn Live, just like we're doing right now, except we're not interviewing, we're just talking. But, hopefully your interview will be just talking as well, because the best way to interview someone, which Stan knows from the interview side of our podcast, and I definitely know from the interview side of our podcast, is talking to people and having conversations. So when it comes to interviewing your clients on LinkedIn Live, though, if you want to build stronger connections with your clients, you want to promote their brand. Like I said before, put them in the spotlight and even get some extra content out of the whole shebang. My God, what a great way to do everything. Interview them live on LinkedIn. When you interview them, you're creating a really memorable experience for your client. They are going to remember that you had them on a LinkedIn Live. I virtually guarantee that. And you're also strengthening your relationship with them, which can lead to customer loyalty, maybe repeat business, especially if you are in a business where you can have repeat business, whether contract renewal or adding in something else that you do that makes sense for them, like that type of thing. Now, I like this too because this also works well with your networking partners. So, people that you're not going to sell to, but people who you may team up with to offer someone to something, or someone says, "Hey, I need like a lawyer," or something like that. You can say, "Hey, I know a lawyer," that type of thing. So, it also works well with those networking partners because you're putting them in the spotlight. So besides building loyalty with your customers and partners, you're also really helping your LinkedIn network by giving them exposure to the people who are people they might not know, but they probably should know. So, it's everybody truly wins when you do something like that. And you get content out of it too. I mean, you can actually put together quotes just like Stan said. You could pull video and put short videos out there with permission, of course, which hopefully because you've already shown them live, you should already they should already be aware that they're out there and everything else too. But you may want to take the extra mile. You should actually go that extra mile and just say, "Hey, I'm going to use some quotes. I may put some videos. Is that cool with you?" Hopefully they'll say yes. So you got all that going on from one LinkedIn Live interview. How cool can that be?
Yeah, yeah, the ability to repurpose content from one recorded conversation is powerful. And so you can get a lot of mileage out of one video conversation if you do it strategically.
And that spotlight just keeps growing and growing and growing for them too, which is always cool.
Yeah, yep, very true.
So let's talk next about endorsing skills. It seems like a simple thing, but yet I think it's very powerful.
Yeah, it's one that's simple and easy when you're on someone's profile. And now you do have to scroll a bit. You can see their skills toward the top, but in order to actually endorse them, you have to scroll down to their skills and you'll see them. Now, hopefully they have organized their skills so that the ones that they most want visible are at the top. But when you endorse someone, it's just a click and it's a light form of recommendation, so to speak. And they do get notified that you endorse them so that they can, thank you. And of course, when you receive endorsements, you want to thank people for endorsing you as well. But it's an easy way to stay on the radar of current and past clients. By offering some value to them in a form of a light touch, and it lets them know that you're still thinking about them. So simply by checking off the endorsement on the most relevant skills, don't endorse someone for Microsoft Office if they have that on their profile.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but so people have it on their profile. So endorse them for their most strategic skills.
Yes. Things things that will make them look great to their clients and the people who are coming to their profile, what they're searching for. It's probably the best way, I think, at least to think of that. I'm not sure if you agree with that, Stan.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah. So before we move on, I want to mention the ebook again. It's at socialsaleslink.com/loyalty. You could see the lower third chyron on the screen here, as well as the QR code, which is upper left. Am I pointing? I can't even tell. My whole thing's even covered up right now. So you've got two different ways to get to that, to download it and have all this information in your hot little hands whenever you want it, or on your screen, because who prints out PDFs anymore? Number 6, making introductions to potential take two, making introductions to potential referral partners. So, I've already mentioned referral partners once, and I've talked about using LinkedIn Live to help those people out. And, if you don't have any referral partners, you should probably think about getting them like forthwith. But what about taking things to that proverbial next level? What I'm talking about here is identifying opportunities to connect with your clients, or to connect your clients rather with potential referral partners directly, or even other professionals in their industry who but they might not know. When you facilitate these introductions, it demonstrates your commitment to their success. It also strengthens your relationship with them. It's one of the things we want to do here. So it makes sense. But you're also helping the people you're referring them to, because those referral partners and others in their industry, you're helping them by broadening their scope and their network of professionals. It really is a win-win, or actually, in this case, it's a win-win-win, because you win, your client wins, and the professional or professionals you're facilitating the introduction to, they also win. So this is like one of those kind of no one loses. Just go ahead and just do it.
Yeah, yeah. So it takes a little bit of thought
Yeah.
in terms of, okay, who makes sense and who would be amenable, but Bob, you just said exactly what I was going to say. It's a triple win, and it's not always easy to get a win-win-win,
Yeah,
but the right introductions are very powerful and offer a great deal of value.
absolutely. Absolutely. So now we're going to take a little bit of a side road, but yet it's kind of related in that the two-way recommendation, specifically using the LinkedIn tool that lets you recommend people and people can recommend you as well, Stan.
Yep. So when it comes to recommendations, um, you obviously you want to recommend people that you have worked with and you can speak positively about the experience both ways. Um, I always suggest if you want someone to recommend you, reach out to them via email or a phone call. Don't let the first indication that you'd like them to recommend you be LinkedIn's generic request for a recommendation. So touch base with them first, let them know that you enjoy the opportunity to work together, and Bob, are you comfortable recommending me for this, this, and this that we did together? So the more
Yep.
specific, the better.
Yep.
And you can always offer to write them some bullet points or even a draft to make their life easier, because most people are willing to help you, but everyone's busy. So the
Yep.
simpler you can make it for folks, the better.
100%.
Yep.
100.
And if you've had a good experience working with them as a client and are comfortable recommending them based on that experience, you can also write a recommendation.
Yep.
However, my my 2 cents is, don't if you ask someone to recommend you, or don't hesitate to ask someone to recommend you, because you think now I have to write them a recommendation in return, because that's what stops people sometimes from asking for a recommendation, because they think, oh, if I ask Bob for a recommendation, then I'm going to have to write one. It doesn't always work that way. So don't let that stop you from asking someone to write a recommendation.
That's an excellent point. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before. I know I haven't. I'm not sure Bryn has. Maybe she has. I don't know. Bryn talks a lot, as we all know, but it's always gold whenever she talks. But that's a really, really important point, and I do think that people should realize that you don't necessarily need to do that. Although, if you're in a situation with a client and the client is like, would you mind writing one for me too? You say, sure. And then you say, about what? What would you like me to say about you? Hopefully they will say some things at that point that you can speak authoritatively to. If you're like a little uncomfortable where it's like, oh, I'm not sure if I could really hang my hat on that, but I can talk about how easy it was to work with you. How well you made it, how easy you made it to work through the organization, how professional you were, things like that. I can write about that all day long, and they should probably at that point say, yeah, sure, that's cool. So I mean, even though you're writing something for a client, there are positive things that you can write about a client in a recommendation.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So totally agreed on that.
Very good, very good. So for our last one, we're actually going to go back to the beginning of everything. So this involves taking inventory of your connections, which you can still do. It's a little more clunky, but you can go through the LinkedIn security settings and get like a huge download of everything. One of the downloads is going to be a CSV of your connections. So, before you start doing all this, it's really important to look at and evaluate your network. So you know who's in it. You should know who's in it, unless you've got so many people that you really don't know who's in it. In that case, you should definitely do this because you need to know who is important to continue those conversations with. you can export, or you can even search your connections on LinkedIn too. If you don't want to go through the whole export thing, there are also the LinkedIn filters that you can use to search up first degree connections of people who you've worked with. Make sure that you're connected with these contacts to nurture the relationships and drive repeat business, because you know what? And I'm going to put this phrase on a t-shirt: knowing your network sets the stage for success. Either that, or it's going to be one of those quote slides or something like that. I'm not sure, but I got to make money off of it, so it'll probably be a t-shirt. With that, any wrap up thoughts, Stan, or anything about what I just said?
Yep, I think reviewing your network and using the ability to download your connections is great. So in your settings on LinkedIn under data privacy, because it's not always clear, okay, where exactly am I going for this? You'll see the option to get a copy of your data.
Yeah, thank you for that great UI LinkedIn. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap things up. I do want to mention the ebook really quickly. One more time, socialsaleslink.com/loyalty, and everything is on the screen in front of you if you have been with us live. Now, if you've been recorded via our podcast, no matter how you're hearing us or seeing us, I want to thank you for joining us for this episode of Making Sales Social Live, sponsored by AskSSL.ai. We do these live sessions weekly, so, join us, except for next week, next Monday, because we are recording this on August 25th. September 1st, we're not here. So I think we're actually going to run an interview or something like that in that place, but that's going to be recorded. So just so you know that. But if you're listening to us on our podcast, everything that I just said ain't going to matter to you. But if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button to access all of our previous shows and be alerted when new ones drop. So we actually got, before we wrap up, that's a good tip. Christine Saunders, it says LinkedIn user there, but I've got to show up live over here so I can see that as well. Sure. Reviewing your network is imperative to ensure important relationships are maintained. Christine could not agree more with that. So, I think we're just going to ultimately wrap things up. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. And when you are out and about, be sure to make your sales
social.
Exactly. Love it. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, all.